All right, here we go. Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching this program on the best rehab codes. This is part 4. There's no audio taping or videotaping allowed, and any unauthorized reproduction, dispensing, forwarding, or copying of this target coding presentation is illegal. The information contained in this presentation is for educational purposes. It's not intended to substitute your thorough clinical decision-making. It's not intended to be legal advice. Target coding does not engage in providing legal services. CPT is a registered trademark of the AMA. This presentation provides information in regard to the subject matter covered. Every attempt has been made to make certain the information in this presentation is 100% accurate. However, it's not guaranteed. Let me tell you a little bit about myself before we get going. My name is Dr. Marty Kotler. I practiced for many years. About 16 years, and about 12 years ago, I started a company called Target Coding. I am a certified professional compliance officer. I'm a certified billing coding specialist. My areas of expertise include CPT, ICD-10, and HIPAA coding, compliance as it relates to Medicare and HIPAA. I've written 10 training manuals on chiropractic billing, coding, and documentation. Also write training manuals for acupuncture, billing and coding, and physical therapy, billing and coding. I write articles for many publications and journals throughout the country, and I'm a guest speaker at many state association conventions nationwide. Those of you listening to this presentation, if you're part of a state association that's looking for a guest speaker, we are approved for CE credits in most states for chiropractic, physical therapy, and acupuncture. So if you're part of a state association looking for a speaker, let us know. We could typically get a sponsor and we could make the event very successful. So let's begin by talking about who can provide rehab services. Before we even get into the actual services and the billing and the coding and the documentation, let's just discuss who can actually perform these services. I break it down into two categories: qualified healthcare practitioners and clinical staff. So qualified healthcare practitioners include chiropractors, medical doctors, physical therapists, physician assistants, acupuncturists. Qualified healthcare professionals are individuals who are licensed to be able to perform a service and are able to report that service. They're able to bill the service directly to a health plan. Clinical staff members include chiropractic assistants, PTAs, nurses, certified athletic trainers, nutritionists, rehab techs, Pilates instructors, exercise physiologists. These are individuals that can perform services. They've been trained to perform services, however, cannot report these services on their own. Clinical staff would not be able to bill an insurance company. Clinical staff must work under the supervision of a qualified healthcare professional. So supervision and who could provide the service is very important. I've seen quite a few doctors get in trouble because they didn't realize who's allowed to perform the services. There are some states that do not allow CAs to perform services, yet some doctors are doing it. So supervision, there's 3 supervision levels: personal supervision, direct supervision, and general supervision. Now, as far as physical therapy goes in Medicare, PTAs can provide services, and Medicare will pay for PTA services as long as the PT is on site. So that's considered direct supervision. PTAs are going to be paid at a different rate coming up in a couple of years because of the new therapy appeal that went into effect earlier this year. So another key points regarding who could provide the services: some state rules are complex, sometimes they're hard to find. Supervision rules vary greatly from state to state. In some states, as I mentioned, CAs are not allowed to perform any modalities at all. They're not even allowed to put a hot pack on a patient. So check with your state board on the staff members you can employ and what services they're allowed to perform. Check with the plans on supervision requirements prior to billing. Find out who needs to be on premises when the procedures are performed. Again, I'm involved right now with a couple of cases where there are some automobile accident insurance companies that are refusing to pay my clients because they had the CAs perform the service. Just be careful with that and do your due diligence on that. So now, the best therapeutic procedures, I call them rehab procedures. Let's go over them right now. Therapeutic procedures or rehab procedures is a manner of effecting change through the application of clinical skills and or services that attempt to improve function. One-on-one patient contact required. One-on-one. Not this scenario, which a lot of doctors tell me, well, Dr. Kotler, I could be adjusting a patient, but in the distance, I could see patients exercising. Isn't that considered one-on-one? No, it is not. One or more areas each 15 minutes. So let's begin with the first one. 97110, therapeutic exercises used to develop strength, endurance, range of motion, flexibility. There's a little acronym I have there, SURF. S stands for strength, E stands for endurance, R stands for range of motion, and F stands for flexibility. So if you're billing 97110 to an insurance company, that means you're telling them that you are performing a procedure to increase strength, endurance, range of motion. So if that's the case, what should the patient have a lack of when they come into your office? Yeah, you got it. They should have a lack of strength or lack of range of motion. Otherwise, why are you doing the procedure? It's an active procedure. Here's an example. Active procedure. The patient has to be doing some sort of weightlifting or working with balls, bands, tubes. They must be doing the procedure. Active procedure. The patient is performing the service, and your documentation must prove that these services are being indicated. They're indicated. They are being performed. Who's performing them? My recommendation always to put in your treatment plan that example, therapeutic exercises will be performed for the first 12 visits with direct one-on-one contact to, let's say, the lumbar musculature in order to increase range of motion using balls, bands, tubes. Explain your protocol. Those of you watching this presentation that you're thinking about incorporating rehab, we have some people on the line this morning that are already doing rehab. We have quite a few people listening to this that are thinking about incorporating some rehab. I recommend you start very low tech. If you're not familiar with this type of technology, start low tech. Contact foot levelers, they sell this Baxis and Nexus system. It's so simple. Purchase these products, you attach them to the wall, you could be up and running with a rehab department in 20 minutes. I really like their Nexus system. It's a great way to improve neck muscle strength. They're isometric type exercises. So again, 97110, active procedure. It's not passive. You're not supposed to be billing for 97110 if the patient is just lying on the table and you're just stretching them. I'll show you what code to bill for that in a few minutes. Next is 97112, neuromuscular reeducation of movement, balance. Excellent code. A lot of people need this service. A lot of chiropractors bill this service. A lot of physical therapists bill this service. It's an excellent code. Now, some insurance companies say, well, the patient has to have had a stroke or multiple sclerosis or some sort of advanced neuromusculoskeletal debilitating disorder. I disagree. Many other insurance companies will pay. I could tell you Aetna seems to have a problem with 97112, but most other plans, if it's done properly, documented properly, the amount of time you spend doing it and the specific area, you should be able to get paid. One of the best ways to incorporate 97112 is with wobble boards or balance boards. Next is 97140, manual therapy techniques. Now, manual therapy techniques is the heading. There are sub-techniques underneath it, like soft tissue mobilization, joint mobilization, manipulation, manual lymphatic drainage, manual traction. Now, I have on the list here CCI Edit. CCI Edit. What does that mean? Correct Coding Initiative Edit. The federal government said many years ago that this service, manual therapy, is not supposed to be performed in the same anatomic site as a chiropractic adjustment. So, keep that in mind. Now, if for some reason a patient comes in and says, I have a neck problem and a back problem, and you think that the neck problem deserves or needs a chiropractic adjustment, but the lower back problem needs more soft tissue mobilization or manual therapy or myofascial release, then that's fine. If you're not going to do manipulation in the lumbar region, then you would use the 5-9 modifier on the 97140, and that's how you can bypass the CCI edit. The 5-9 modifier is one of those rare modifiers that bypasses the CCI edits, so you have to use it very carefully. A lot of providers audit doctors if their use of 5-9 is higher than their peers. Be careful with the 5-9 modifier. Next, oh yeah, so this is passive. See, earlier I mentioned active procedure, 97110, therapeutic exercises is an active procedure. The patient has to be performing the service. With manual therapy and massage therapy, it's passive. The patient is lying there. As you see in these photos, the patient is lying there and the provider is doing the service. The patient could be sleeping and just relaxing, and the provider's performing the service. That's passive care. That's manual therapy, massage therapy. Hey, think about it. Even a chiropractic adjustment is passive. The patient isn't doing anything, but if the patient is lifting weights, using balls, bands, tubes, that's active treatment. Next is therapeutic activities. This is definitely an active procedure. There's no way this could be passive. This is dynamic activities are used to improve functional performance. So the first thing you have to do is interview the patient. What is their particular condition preventing them from doing? What is their pain, discomfort preventing them from doing their normal activities of daily living? That's one of the first things you need to find out. A lot of people call this code the ING code because it relates to bending, lifting, carrying, reaching. So you need to restore function for those items in a progressive manner. It's a multi-parameter code relating to an activity of daily living. Now, this code, you might be thinking, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on with this code. It's complicated. Well, yeah, it is complicated. It's more complex than all the others, and you get rewarded for it because you get paid more for this code than all the others that I've mentioned so far. So an example could be increased flexibility of the quadratus lumborum muscles while activating and stretching the hamstring muscles to improve the patient's capacity for walking and standing. Now we have an updated code here for this year, 97760. This is orthotics management and training. Upper extremity or lower extremity or the trunk. Initial orthotic encounter each 15 minutes. So the complexity of the patient's condition needs to be documented to show the necessity to assess, fit, and instruct the use of the orthotic. There's many different types of orthotics. When you think of orthotic, you may be thinking, foot levelers, foot orthotics. Yeah, go right ahead and think that. However, a lumbar brace is also considered an orthotic. There are shoulder orthotics and knee orthotics. So when consideration is made for a patient to require an orthotic, the provider targets the problems in performance or movements of tasks, fits the device, trains the patient. So this is a procedure code that could be used in conjunction with the actual selling of the orthotic itself. So you could bill for, let's say, foot orthotics. L3020 is a HIPAA code that is used for the actual orthotics, the supply, and then you could also use this code. Now there's also another code. Now there's a lot of information on 97760. Here's additional information. Once the initial fit is established, any further visits should be used for specified documented problems. It's reasonable and necessary to require 1 to 3 visits to fit and educate the patient. Now we have 97763. This is a brand new code for this year. Brand new. It replaced 97762. This is an orthotic management or training for a subsequent encounter. These assessments may be necessary when the device is newly issued, may be medically necessary when the patient experiences a loss of function. It is unusual to require more than 30 minutes for this procedure. So now I've been mentioning codes and fees. This is a good website I wanted to share with you. Fairhealthconsumer.org. Patients can go in and check the fees based on specific codes in your zip code. So you might have a patient that says, you know what, I want to go to a chiropractor. Before I go, I want to see how much he or she charges. If the patient happens to know the CPT code, they can put it in and see what the going rate is in your area for that particular service. So this is an excellent website. Most of the time, the fees at this website are more than most of the providers I work with, so it actually helps you educate the patient that, hey, your fees are not that high. Now, this year, some changes occurred to some of these rehab fees, like 97112 has gone up in value, so has massage and therapeutic activities. Therapeutic exercises and manual therapy, that the value of those codes have gone down a little bit. So that's why every year we recommend that you do a fee analysis. We do a fee schedule calculator with our clients. You can go to fairhealthconsumer.org. You can look at the fee schedules in your area from all the insurance companies. You could call other offices and find out what they charge. You should do a nice fee analysis every year to see where you're at. Very rarely do you have to lower your fees, right? Most of the time you should be increasing your fees a little bit every year. GP modifier has come up recently with rehab codes because some Medicare carriers are denying claims because you don't add the GP modifier. So modalities and therapeutic procedures provided by doctors or chiropractic, although not covered, should be submitted with the GP and GY modifiers. We're talking about Medicare here. Here's an example. This is the way it should look. If you do traction on a Medicare patient and you're going to bill Medicare even though they don't pay for it, this is the way it should look, GP, GY. And then if you're going to do manual therapy on a Medicare patient and have them pay you cash, don't give it away for free, right? Medicare's not going to pay. And if the patient doesn't have a secondary and you're doing it, the patient should pay, right? Don't give it away for free. So if you have a patient that comes in with Medicare and a secondary plan that pays for manual therapy, then submit to Medicare the way it looks on the screen, 97140, GP, GY, and the 59 if you're doing it in a separate anatomic site than the spinal adjustment. Time codes, there's two schools of thought, total time and the rule of 8. So in general, 1 unit is 8 to 22 minutes and 2 units is 23 to 37 minutes. But be careful, at a quick glance, you take a look at total time example in the top left corner. All right, so I do manual therapy, 97140 for 23 minutes, and then I do therapeutic exercises for 23 minutes. At a quick glance, you would think, well, I got to 23 minutes on each one. I should be able to bill 2 units of each for a total of 4 codes. No, you cannot. In the total time situation, that totals 46 minutes. 46 minutes, that falls in between 38 and 52. You can only bill 3 units. Now, in the past, you may have billed 97140 for 2 units and 97110 for 1 unit because you thought manual therapy paid more. Well, it's not the case. 97110 typically pays more. So if I had to choose 2 units of 1 code, I would have picked 110 for 2 units and 140 for 1 unit. Now, rule of 8 is different. Well, before we get to rule of 8, look what you need to do as far as 4 units in total time. You need to get to 53 minutes. So if you do 97140 for 30 minutes and then 97110 for 23 minutes, that totals 53 minutes. Then you could bill 4 units, 2 codes of each, 2 units of each. That's 2 codes, 4 units, 2 units of each. Rule of 8, 97140, 8 minutes, 97110, 8 minutes. Total is 16. Some health plans allow you to bill both of those codes, but if you're going to bill, let's say, United Healthcare for 16 minutes, you could only bill 1 unit, because Medicare and United Healthcare uses total time. Now, a little bit about justifying your rehab codes, connecting them to certain diagnosis codes. Radiculopathy, I wanted to touch on that a little bit. Radiculopathy, very common code seen in chiropractic, cervical radiculopathy, lumbar radiculopathy. Patients respond very well to chiropractic treatment when they present with radiculopathy. The diagnosis of radiculopathy begins with a thorough history and exam. The rationale for choosing a diagnosis must be in writing. It's in your plan of care, entered into the notes. So let's say you're going to use cervical radiculopathy or cervicothoracic radiculopathy as a diagnosis. Or there's lumbar radiculopathy codes, thoracolumbar, lumbar, lumbosacral. So we have 5 radiculopathy codes on your screen. Let's focus on the cervical radiculopathy. So let's say you diagnose a patient with cervical radiculopathy, and now you get questioned by an insurance company, a case manager, if it's a state board situation or a malpractice case. Now you're on the witness stand. Dr. Kotler, you submitted a claim with a diagnosis of cervical radiculopathy. Can you explain to me, how did you come up with that? Hopefully you'll say something like this. Well, the patient had neck pain radiating into an arm. I did Jackson compression. I did spurling. You should do a couple of ortho tests, a couple of neuro tests. I checked reflexes, and there was some myotomal weakness. The chiro tests, well, there was limited motion. There was palpatory tenderness and subluxation. So that's how you can justify your diagnosis codes. You don't ever want to be caught, by surprise. Hey, how'd you come up with that diagnosis? And you're not sure how to explain it. So make sure you could justify your diagnosis codes when using them in conjunction with your rehab codes. Oh, I wanted to show you, this is a page out of a book that I endorse and recommend. This is a page out of the book, and this page talks about, it shows you the diagnosis and then the ortho, neuro, chiro tests. So here we have, let's say you diagnose the patient with cervical brachial syndrome. How did you come up with that, Dr. Kotler? Well, the patient had pain into the shoulder and some numbness, some neck pain. We did Wrights and Atsons. We saw forward head posture and rounded shoulders and subluxation. So it helps you justify it. Same thing here with, like a sacroiliac joint issue, like a joint sprain or sacroiliitis. Here, well, the patient had pain in the SI joint, Yeoman's Ganslins. Those are the, Yeoman's and Ganslins are the gold standard tests for SI joint involvement. Anytime you're going to diagnose a patient with something to do with the SI joint, I strongly recommend you do Yeoman's or Ganslins, a couple of ortho tests, chiro tests. You just want to be able to show that you are justified in the diagnosis codes you're choosing. Oh, this is the book that I was referring to that has, there's a section in this book that has a bunch of diagnosis codes and the ortho, neuro, and chiro test to support it. There's a whole bunch of other things in this book, but this is the book. Okay, now we have a little update here on spinal stenosis diagnosis. Don't use M4806 anymore. It won't work. It'll get denied. ICD-10 has added 2 additional codes to get more specific. M48061 is lumbar stenosis without neurogenic claudication, and M48062 is lumbar stenosis with neurogenic claudication. So pick one of those and do not use M4806 anymore. Now I know this webinar is on rehab codes and therapeutic procedures. However, just want to mention a little bit about modalities just to cover it. So these are supervised modalities. You should see on your screen the top 3 of the most common: hot and cold packs, mechanical traction, unattended electrical stim. There are others. This is the application of a modality that does not, I repeat, does not require direct one-on-one contact. They're not time-based. Something else I like to encourage my clients to do is to link your codes, pair your codes. So for example, if you're going to diagnose a patient with cervical radiculopathy and lumbar disc degeneration, what do those diagnosis codes pair with? Well, there's one CPT code, mechanical traction. I look at this like pairing wine and food. You want to do therapeutic exercises on a patient? Okay, that's fine. There are certain diagnosis codes that link or pair with therapeutic exercises like neck pain, shoulder stiffness, strained quadriceps. So code linking, code pairing, there's a lot of terms for the same thing, code combining. Yeah, the code combinings are also in this book. I think it's in chapter 2. These are constant attendance modalities. The most common one on the screen here is 97035 ultrasound. These do require direct one-on-one contact. These are time-based. So if you're going to do ultrasound, you must put in your notes the location you did it. So let's say neck and shoulder, and the amount of time, 10 minutes. Always get questions on taping and Graston and active release technique. So there's no specific code for taping, but you could use the time that you spend taping towards a rehab code. Do not use 292 codes you see on the bottom of the screen for taping. Those are used for casting and strapping and immobilizing a joint. Right now, when it comes to rehab procedures, you will have billing and coding policies on them, and they should be in writing. Every office, in my opinion, should have a billing and coding policy manual, and it's based on these 7 essentials. Written policies and procedures, conducting regular staff trainings. There's a whole bunch here. The 3 that I've highlighted are the most important ones: conducting internal record reviews. So here's a sample policy and procedure. Policy is, this is on internal reviews. The backbone of any policy and compliance plan is reviewing and monitoring our documentation. So how do you do that? You do self-chart reviews. This is our little spreadsheet that we use to score patient notes. If you see Medicare patients, you're supposed to go to the OIG exclusion website and see if your name pops up. Hopefully it doesn't. If it does, like this provider, Douglas Godfrey, you would not be able to employ this person to see Medicare patients. This person has been excluded from the Medicare program. A couple other things you should have is a employee computer access log. You should keep a list of all the staff members that have access to your computer systems, and if they're terminated, they quit, they are let go, you should document that date and how you're going to terminate their access. It's called termination policy through HIPAA. Sample training, yeah, you're supposed to be training staff members on billing and coding. 3 hours per year is the recommended amount, so we have like this little training log. So it's good to have billing and coding policies and have a manual. You know, if you bought a shirt, let's say in Macy's, and you went to return the shirt, and you said, okay, what's your refund policy? And Macy's went, oh, we don't have one, and you can't return the shirt. You would probably be upset. Well, what's your policy? I want, you know, can you give me a store credit? Can you you know, give me the money back onto my credit card? You know, what's your policy? Well, we don't really have one, and we're not giving you any refund. You know, you would be frustrated. That's how some patients may feel if they don't understand your fees, or some staff members that work for you. If they're confused about how you bill, it can cause problems. So there's many reasons to have a policy. It prevents problems. So now, back to rehab. Read all the coverage policies on rehab from all the health plans you bill. Review them with your staff. Log that training into your policy and procedure manual. So just a few closing comments. Please check with all the plans you bill prior to submitting claims based on this information. I want to thank everybody for attending. Here's my contact information. That's what I look like for those of you that don't know what I look like. A lot of you listen to my webinars but have no idea what I look like. Well, there I am. And there's my personal email, drkotler@targetcoding.com. Check out our website, targetcoding.com. Telephone number 1-800-270-7044. Our HIPAA secure fax number is 1-844-831-2347. And, besides doing these webinars, we also put on seminars. We sell videos, training videos on multiple different topics. I think we have 14 training videos right now on the website. We do on-site consulting. We offer membership programs. Hey, you could even hire us for an hour or two if you would like. We sell a forms binder with forms, letters, and templates. We offer HIPAA compliance programs and Medicare policy and procedure manuals. Oh, here's the book that I was referring to. So you get the diagnosis codes and the ortho-neuro-chiro tests, the whole bunch of frequently asked questions. Like most of the doctors, when I ask them, can you tell me the difference between a disc disorder and a disc displacement? They're not sure. And that's important because in ICD-10 you have groups of those. Make sure you know the difference. Hey, something as simple as, and, I work with doctors in practice, 1 week, and I work with doctors in practice 40 years. And just because you're in practice 40 years doesn't mean you know the answers to these questions. I've been gathering these questions for a while. Like, what's the difference between cervical brachial syndrome and cervical radiculitis? What's the difference between myalgia, myositis, myofasciitis? It's all in the book. And then we give you the diagnosis codes that pay for the most visits. That's in chapter 1 of the book. And how to pair, like wine and food. We show you how to pair your CPTs and your ICD-10s. There's a whole bunch of cheat sheets in the book. This is our billing and coding compliance manual that we offer. We customize policies and procedures for your practice. We give you training logs and forums and compliance calendars and billing and coding updates. This is our acupuncture compliance program and what it includes. We offer a Medicare and OIG compliance manual. We offer a HIPAA compliance manual. If you're shopping around for a HIPAA program, give us a shot. Ours is very comprehensive. We sell Mercedes and Ferraris. Although Hondas and Toyotas are fantastic cars, we don't sell those. We sell Mercedes and Ferraris, and we charge more because we do a lot more. You get what you pay for. So if you're shopping around for a HIPAA program, give us a shot. You'll see that ours includes a lot more than most others. For example, our program includes $100,000 of cyber liability insurance just in case you have a problem. You get a cloud-based portal for all your HIPAA policies and procedures, and HIPAA is mandatory in all 50 states. We also offer a basic membership, $99, pay as you go. May be interested in that to send over your simple questions. Forms packet. Everybody should be using a HIPAA notice. That brand new patient that comes in, they have to sign a notice of privacy practices. Make sure you have the most recent updated one. If you need one, email amy@targetcoding.com, amy@targetcoding.com. She'll send you the sample HIPAA form. And we have a whole, please go to our website. You'll see all the seminars we have coming up. And we have an acupuncture webinar coming up, a physical therapy webinar coming up. I want to thank everybody for attending. Let's check out questions and answers now. I hope you learned a lot.